So a lot of chaos right now because you don't really know if it's 5%, if it's 20%, what's going on. Now, why is this chaos? If you see previously, if you take a look at the TCS rates, it was 5% exactly for everything, right? So it does not really matter if you're transferring from private sources, it's 5%. If it's living expense, it's 5%. Everything is 5%. Now, all of a sudden comes the question, is blocked account an educational expense, which is university fee, versus a living expense? Because living expense has a different TCS than the university fees. And if you take a look at the other articles, so this is from another website. If you take a look at the Economic Times article, Times of India article, Outlook India, and Livement, and so on, what the Ministry of Finance says is if it's like educational expense or medical expense, right? That's where they make the distinction. They don't even make the distinction between like educational living expense versus like university fee. So this could be the one area where it could be a good kind of news for students that, okay, like blocked account is going to be 5% and not 20%. But I mean, it's still not a good news. You're still paying like 5% extra. But it is not clear yet. We have written to many blocked account providers and we will be receiving a response from them hopefully soon to see like what exactly is the story there too. And when that happens, I'm going to make another update, but I wanted to make this update before I start the day so that you have some more clarity about like what's going on, what is this entire confusion about, because confusion was and is for everybody that previously it was just 5% for everything, no matter what you're like transferring for, as long as you push above 7 lakh Indian rupees limit per year, you're paying the 5% tax, right? But now all of a sudden, like the government, you have to see it's 5% and the 20%, because even in this article actually was pretty detailed, and they mentioned that like you're having what 20% even for accommodation, and just 5% of the university for the university fee, and 0.5% from education loan. And at education loan, there is still no the threshold has not been removed so far, which is, yes, nice news. If you take a look at then other articles, so this is for example from Outlook India, you see here that they're mentioning some more details. They're mentioning that educational expense qualifying for lower TCS rate, expenses considered as education expense and retracting a lower TCS rate include tuition fee, dorm fee, lab fee, exam fee, books, and stationery. So like this is 100% related to university only, right? This is not blocked account story. Now, why it is not the blocked account story? You take a look at the website of Baden-Württemberg. So this is the government website. And here it's written that a blocked account is, as the name suggests, an account with restricted access. The money you pay into this account is meant to cover your cost of living and other expenses while you stay in Baden-Württemberg, right? Cost of living. Now, all of a sudden you see cost of living. Articles are saying that the cost of living, additional living expenses such as food, lodging can be claimed as educational expense if a connection between these expenses and education can be established. But now in the same article itself, if you're having a university housing, so the tax treatment of student accommodation depends on whether the student resides in university housing or third-party provided housing. So university housing does not exist in Germany. You don't really have TUHH offering you the hostels. You don't have TUM offering you hostels. You're generally having Studentenwerk, which is again a separate body. And there you can still make a link, all right, like, this is related. But otherwise, you're generally living in like shared accommodations with other people. So there is no university housing system in Germany. If the student stays in the accommodation provided by the university, it will be considered an educational expense. Third-party housing, if the student resides in a third-party provided housing, the sender of funds must establish a connection between the expenses and education to claim this as educational expense. I mean, if you think about it logically, like, of course, it has to be educational expense because you're not staying there like for fun. But then comes a question like, are you staying there? Maybe it's more expensive. Are you trying to take more money from India to Germany for a more expensive accommodation versus than for a cheaper accommodation, which could be in the university and so on? So the problem that is happening right now is that if it would be a flat 5% for everything, right, you would absolutely have no worries whatsoever, because you know that it does not matter whatsoever if it's I'm sending it for food, I'm sending it for travel, I'm sending it for anything, it's always 5%, like it was previously. It was still simple previously. It is not simple anymore, at least right now. So that's very important, and that's why I say, like, here, like, all of this confusion is starting, that all of a sudden you're having the third party housing questions, you're having university housing questions, you're having questions if you can show the food and stuff. And in the same article, like, this is what I find really funny. So additional living expenses, such as food, this and this, can be claimed if educational expense is established. No? But then further, look at this. Taxation of regular expenses incurred by students. Regular expenses incurred by students which are not directly related to education are subjected to the higher TCS rate of 20%. This includes expense for food, entertainment, clothing, and investment in stocks. Okay, like that's anyway something that nobody does, but if you're doing food, entertainment, and clothing, what is food, entertainment, and clothing? Food, entertainment, and clothing could be, of course, your, like, normal food, grocery shopping and things like that. Entertainment, your Amazon Prime, Netflix, I don't know if you have something else like Spotify, whatever. Clothing. So on all of that you have to pay 20%. But how do you decide this? Because blocked account covers everything. It mainly covers the living expenses that you have. It actually only covers the living expenses that you have when you're living in Germany. And this is the reason, like, all of this confusion is right now, because like I told you previously, there would be no confusion if it would be like, yeah, 5% tax flat, everybody's paying 5%. It does not matter who is doing what. But here then comes a question, like, all of a sudden, is it like for accommodation, and is it for university accommodation versus private accommodation? Is it for, I don't know, food? Is it for entertainment? What is the money for? And that's why, like, you try to read these definitions for blocked account, but like every single thing just simply states nothing about the university fee, or like that it is directly related to education. It is, that's why I'm just thinking that that's a weird scenario, but at the same time, blocked account is something you're not doing for fun. Blocked account you need as a part of the visa process in order to study in Germany, and that's why it could be an educational expense. So we are waiting for more information about these things, but so far everything that you would see online, it's just like crazy chaos, like one thing stating something else, another thing stating something else, and this is like definitely not nice for you guys. That's why I also find it a little bit horrible that they have put out now all of a sudden all of these regulations without very clearly mentioning like what kind of stuff applies to what, because not that now you're transferring the standard 11,208 euros, whatever, and then all of a sudden you're paying taxes on that, right? So, and not even 5% tax, that you're paying like 20% tax on that. That would definitely not be nice. If it comes under then the educational expense, if you read here, if we say that blocked account is going to be 5%, and they are saying that so threshold has been removed, right? So then it would still mean that you can like do from two accounts. Like that would mean then the entire story would not have a huge impact. But if they now say that the blocked account is going to be a living expense, or is going to be a part living expense, because it is not purely just your hostel rent or whatever, because not everybody is able to stay in the hostel anyways. It's also shared accommodations and things like that. So then things are going to get very complicated. Let's see. I'm going to keep you updated about how things proceed, because right now we don't really have any further concrete details about all of this. Like as soon as more details come, I'll make an updated video, because I'm pretty sure one of the blocked account providers, one of the remittance providers, whatever, they can write to me also on email, bharat@bharatingermany.com, or they can write to me on Instagram, so we can like also share this update on YouTube, that okay, this is the message that we have received on Instagram, and then we can also share it with you guys to say, all right, we know 100% now that the blocked account is still going to be 5%, or is it going to be now 20%? Is it going to be part? Who knows? So let's see. But the one thing is for sure, like to avoid any kind of confusion right now, before 1st July, if you still make a blocked account and you make the transfers, whatever, you're still only paying 5%. And you still have the threshold that you can transfer from 2 accounts so that you're not having the 5% at all, which is a nice thing. So this still stays till 1st July. If you want to open your blocked account, like I said, you will find an affiliate link for Expatrio in the description below. I like them because we've been working together for a long time, but otherwise you're free to search, Google around and find what you like the best. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.